Welcome to the third MIDI Toolkit tutorial. In the first tutorial, I gave you an overview of what the MIDI Toolkit was, what sort of things it's able to do, how you can add music with it. In the second tutorial, we built a game where we had a crocodile boy who could run faster and faster the quicker that you tap the mouse button, and importantly the music in the background was being played by MIDI and was getting faster and faster as the boy was running faster and faster. In this tutorial we're going to focus on what I call the visualizations. That is the data that you can get from the MIDI Toolkit as it's playing, finding out what instruments it's playing, what notes it's playing, and any other information you want about the music. And we're going to use that information to create a game in a Guitar Hero style, so that you have to tap in time to the music to make something happen. And what we're going to do is make the crocodile boy run faster and faster by tapping in time to a piece of music that's playing in the background. Rather than continuing from the project you made in the second tutorial, it's going to be a better idea to remix the version of it that I have on the tutorial Scratch site. So I'll put a link for that in the description of the YouTube video, along with links to various other useful resources, and that way you're starting with the exact same code I'm using here, and you also have the assets that you require, such as the Thomas the Tank Engine music, which we're going to play along with. So once you've got the project up on the screen, hit the remix button and we'll make a start on this game. I have made a few modifications since the last tutorial. Nothing drastic. All I've done is add some cloud variables, so it now stores the best score and the name of the person who got the best score. But while we're on the subject of cloud variables, when you remix a project with cloud variables in, you sometimes get problems with them stopping working, and it seems that just by renaming them you can kickstart them into working again. So the first thing we'll do is we'll rename the 3 cloud variables. So all I'm going to do is add an underscore after each one, so best becomes best underscore, not best I shall rename as not best underscore, and racer I'll rename as racer underscore. Now that's out of the way, let's create a new sprite, and this is where I'm going to put all the code for the visualizations and for playing along in time for the music. So let's paint a new sprite, we'll call it visualization, and I'm going to make the costume just a paintbrush size 20, size 40, dot in the middle of the screen, and just to make sure it's in the middle of the screen I'll drag it until it clicks into place. There is a reason for needing something in the costume, and that's for the technique I use for drawing sprites when they're slightly off screen. I discuss this in nearly every tutorial I do, so I'll put a link on the screen here to tell you where the tutorial is about this. But the important thing is that we need something in the costume to zoom to a large size so that we can make things scroll gently on and off the screen. So let's tap the code button and start making some script. The game is essentially going to look like the previous version, the only difference being on the right hand side of the screen we're going to see notes moving down the screen, and when they cross a line you have to tap the mouse button so that you're playing the music in time. So let's start by setting the screen up. Now if I just tap this to set the game running, then that's how the game looks as it currently is. I'm going to darken the right side of the screen so we have an area for the notes to come down. So let's create a broadcast receiver called display notes. So that's in the events, when I receive, and it's a new message, display notes. And I want to darken the right side of the screen. So using pen blocks, I'm going to set the pen color, and I'm going to tap on the color and drag the brightness right down. So I'm setting the pen color to black. I'm going to set the pen size to 80. Because that's the width of the play area that I want to see. I'm going to go to the top of the screen, So that's go to 200, 220. So it's actually off the top of the screen. I'm going to draw a vertical line all the way down. So let's put our pen down and draw a line down by changing, well, by setting Y to minus 220. So it goes from off the top of the screen to off the bottom of the screen, and then we'll pick the pen up again. And just doing that, if I click on it, I'll make this larger. You can see it's created a nice black background, which is great, but we can make that look a little bit better. In fact, from the player code in the main green flag block, I'm going to add a broadcast to display notes in here. So I'll just put it here after all the custom block calls, broadcast, display notes, so that now I can just click to run it and you can see the blackened out area in the game. So let's go back to the visualization sprite, and you can see the costume is being displayed there at the bottom of the black column. We don't want to see that, so I'm going to create another receiver. When I receive, call it initialize, and what we'll do in there is we will hide, so that we hide the costume. And back to the player sprite, at the beginning of the green flag one, instead of the custom block for initialize, we're going to do the broadcast in there. I'll have a broadcast and wait, so it doesn't come back until everything is initialized. Broadcast and wait, initialize, and I'll delete the call to the custom block. And then if we have a look further down, we can see the initialize custom block there. I'm going to change that to receiver. When I receive, initialize, then it will do all the initialization code. So now, when I hit the green flag, it's going to broadcast initialize, which will initialize the scripts in the player sprite and also in the visualization sprite. So now if I hit the green flag, I no longer see the costume. So back to the display notes. I think this is going to look a lot nicer just by making one slight tweak. If I go to the pen blocks and add a set pen color, and I drop it down to change it to transparency of 50, see what difference that makes when I hit the green flag. So that's very nice. You can now see the background behind it, but also note the darkened circle at the top. Although I started at a Y coordinate of 220, which is off the top of the screen, it hasn't happened. So this is where I'm going to use a technique that I often refer to. I'm going to set the size to 1000 before moving and set it back to 100 after moving. That will allow me to draw off the screen. See, and hit the green flag, and now it's starting off the top of the screen, and that is looking really nice for a game area. And we're going to see circles coming down the screen as notes are played, and I'm going to draw a line on the screen for the point at which, when the circle crosses a line, is when you should be tapping the mouse or the screen. So we'll go to the pen blocks, and we're going to set the pen color, and this time we're going to set it to white. So we'll tap on the color, and I'm going to drag brightness all the way to the top, saturation all the way to the bottom, and that gives me white. I'm going to set the pen size, I think I'll set it to 4, and now I want a line across. So let's go to XY, and I'm going to put the X coordinate as 176 and the Y coordinate as 0 for the middle of the screen for now. And I'll put the pen down, and I'm going to change my X coordinate by setting X to 224, and I'll lift my pen back up. So pen up. And I'm actually going to change the way I'm doing the scaling slightly. I'm going to set the size to full right at the beginning, and I'm going to set it back to 100 right at the end. so that anything in here that needs to be drawn slightly off screen will work fine. Now if I just hit the green flag, I've got a white line there, so the notes will come down here. As they cross the line, I tap the mouse in time with the music. So this is a key issue. How do I know if I'm in time with the music? Well, this is where we're going to deal with two of the visualization blocks, the broadcasts that the toolkit makes. The first is when I receive MIDI reset visualization. And this is when you start to play a song, it broadcasts reset visualization, and you can do anything in your own code in a receiver that needs to be initialized. The other receiver I'm going to use is when I receive MIDI update visualization. And this is where, as music is playing, every time it plays a note, it broadcasts to update visualization with the information about the note, so I can actually get to find out when notes are being played by using this block. What I'm primarily interested in is which instrument is being played, because I'm going to choose the instruments that are playing the melody for the song to tap along with. So towards that, I'm going to make a list, and I'm going to call it note instrument for this sprite only. And in update visualization, I'm going to make sure this list is completely empty by deleting all, in the reset visualization, by deleting all of note instrument. And in update visualization, I want to make a record of any notes of interest to me that have been played on a certain instrument. And you could get more than one note passed at a time. It depends how the music is playing. So I'm going to scan through all the notes that are passed here, and I'm going to look for the instrument that's playing the melody. But how do I know which instrument that is? And for this, I use a package called MuseScore, which is completely free, and it lets you look at MIDI files as you see on the screen now. So this is actually Thomas the Tank Engine. If I set this going, it plays Thomas the Tank Engine. But what I'm interested is in looking for where the melody is in this. So as it's playing, I'm going to be keeping an eye out, and I can already see the HNK piano, that's the honky tonk piano, is part of the melody. So let's set it going. So the honky tonk is playing the melody here, and the guitar is doing accompaniment for it. So I definitely want to isolate the honky tonk piano. And at this point the honky tonk piano is stopped, and the melody has moved down here to the synth line. So it looks like the two instruments I'm interested in are the honky tonk piano and the synth line. And in fact, I can verify that in MuseScore if I view the mixer. And what I can do here is, see, I've got the honky tonk there. I can press S to solo that. And if I move over here to it's a synthesizer, the effects synthesizer, then I can also solo that. And if we listen to the music now, it's only playing the honky tonk and the synthesizer. So I can check this is what I want. It certainly is so far. This will be quite nice to play along in time with the music on this. And there we go. It's playing the synth there. So I know those are definitely the instruments I want. So let's stop that. And the honky tonk piano is actually playing honky tonk. And the effects synthesizer, the sound is actually bass lead. So it's a honky tonk and the bass lead that I need to look at. So going back to the Scratch project, I can look at the instrument names for MIDI. Let's make this full screen so I can see what, actually let's make the list larger so I can see what's going on and go full screen. And honky tonk there is instrument 4, and the other instrument I'm looking for was, there it is, bass lead, 88. So the two instruments I'm interested in are instrument 4 and instrument 88. So when I'm doing my update visualization, I need to keep an eye out for those specific notes. So we need to go through all notes that are passed in here. So let's set an index variable for this sprite only, and let's set it to a value of 1, because the note information that comes in is in a list. So I need to, because it might be more than one note, so I need to go through this list. So set index to 1, and then we're going to repeat for the length of the amount of information that's come in. So that's length of, and you can see here the various visualization data that is passed in. I've got the duration of a note, the instrument the note's played on, the pitch of the note, the track or channel it's played on, which is MIDI specific, you probably won't need that, and the volume the note is played at. Now, as I said before, I'm interested in the instrument. So, I mean, all of these lists will have the same number of entries anyway, because each note will have information in all those areas. So I'm going to repeat through it all, and I'm going to do an if statement, and it's going to have an AND block in there. No, an OR block, sorry. And it's simply going to be, have an equals in both sides of this. So if we go down to the list, if item index of the visualization data for the instrument, and it was number 4 for the honky tonk piano, or the other one was number 88. So if it equals 4, or it equals 88, then it's using instruments that I'm interested in. And if that's happening, I need to record some information about this to say, yes, I need to track this note. So I'm going to add the instrument. So that's add item index of visualization data instrument to my note instrument list that I made. And then we'll change the index up by 1 so that it goes through the full list of notes that have been passed in. And now this will, every time notes are played, it will scan through using this receiver, and it will make a note of it if it's one of the melody instruments. But something important to note is there is a repeat loop in here. And because there's a repeat loop, I'm actually going to take this away from the receiver, and I'm going to put it into a custom block. And I'll call the custom block add new notes. But the important part is to run without screen refresh, so that I can guarantee that this will run really quickly. And then I will just, from the receiver, I will just call add new notes. And that is important because it won't work properly unless that is running in a non-refresh block. And now, if I display our list of let's get rid of that, of note instrument that we created, then as it's playing the melody, you should see notes being added to it. If I were playing the correct piece of music, which I'm not, because in the MIDI block, I've actually got 2 songs. I've got Yakety Sax, which is the original one, and Thomas the Tank Engine. So I want to be playing song number 2 now. So let's go back to the player. In his initialization code, he's setting MIDI song to 1. I want to change that to set MIDI song to 2. And now when I run it, it's playing it very slowly. I don't want it to play slowly. But even at that speed, you can see the notes are being added to the list as the melody is being played. But I want this music to play at full speed now. I'm not going to be changing the speed of the music anymore. So I'm going to take out the line that was here that was setting the playback speed, so I can just leave it as default value of 1. And now if I run the code, it's playing at full speed, and you can see the notes gradually building up. And that feels like a good place to bring this part of the tutorial to a close. We've covered a lot of ground, and in the next tutorial we're actually going to display these notes coming down the screen. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please subscribe to the RokCoder YouTube channel, where you'll find out when new tutorials are being released, and I'll see you next time.